Hi, and welcome to the vlog. Today, we are going to be doing a get ready with me while I discuss how in 16, 17 months, I lost almost 50 pounds, super close. And then in and then in one night, I gained 10 pounds back on the scale. Let's talk about it. So firstly, welcome to my channel. This is Tism Pump YouTube, where we discuss my experiences with autism, mental health, addiction recovery, disability, brother, there are so many things, chronic illness, and becoming a baby bodybuilder. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I don't feel like making this video today. Standing is really hard. I'm in a lot of pain. As you can see, maybe down here, my shower chair is there. However, if I'm doing my makeup, it's not going to work. Like, I can't be in a shower chair to do my makeup, unfortunately, because I can't see myself. It's funny because my birthday just passed and my mom bought me a chair for my kitchen so that I could sit at the stove in the chair to cook. But the problem is the chair only extends so high, so my hands were like this. She had to take it back. It was stressful for everybody. Okay, so if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not new here, and I doubt that anyone who's been for some reason on my channel for like 3 years now has seen this, but one of my first YouTube videos was actually me talking about and I need to choose my words here very carefully. So I'm sorry, it's going to be censored. I apologize, but my history with like disordered eating, I don't know. Everything is so censored. It's so funny because on my Facebook, people will message me and be like, or not Facebook, sorry, on my IG, people will message me and be like, I can't read what you're saying in the captions. And I'm like, me either. It takes so long to edit them because everything gets censored. Anyway, so I kind of just wanted to get ready with me, low pressure, despite the fact that I am in a substantial amount of pain and I really just want to be laying down right now. But in the past, like 16, 17 months, since it is currently, math is hard. It's crazy to think about the fact that I one time, way back when, won a math award. This was pre-addiction, of course. That did ruin a few brain cells and a few neural pathways. I will say, I digress. I don't know what I was talking about. Oh, sorry, if you are new here, I've got ADHD. A plethora, a laundry list of issues. That's why I have a hard time going topic to topic. And I didn't feel like writing a script of points for this. Just didn't feel like it. So I essentially lost almost 50 pounds from 2024 December till now, which is like mid-April. And I think I hit the lowest weight like a couple days before my birthday, so I started to do my reverse. I had like a goal weight in mind. Now, keep in mind, we're going to kind of go through the period of events, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some issues and stuff that I encountered. Why you're watching this, I don't know. However, anyway, we're going to just talk about like the kind of the process, what I did, some mistakes that I make that I wish I'd done differently, my first reverse in October, my second reverse now, how things are different, and how I'm currently navigating some of those disordered tendencies coming back, particularly BED. If you're not familiar with BED, it's a eating disorder. I don't even know how much I can say. Anyway, let's just start there. Let's start with that. So, I'm going to be using a bunch of products on my face that I don't normally use because, I don't know, we need to talk, I guess. I don't know, I'm feeling weird. It's fine. I'm fine. You're fine. I'm talking to me. So, I spent about a year and 3-4 months getting fluffy. And that's what we call kind of in the bodybuilding realm, which is like, you've got a little extra something, a little bit extra something. Yeah, I put on fat and it's okay. And I spent around like a little less than a year and a half essentially putting on some muscle, and then I realized it's time. I wanted to kind of see what was happening underneath. I had a feeling and was fairly certain that by the end of it, sorry if I'm making weird noises or weird faces, I am, as I said, like in a lot of pain, and I'm just trying to do things while doing that. But I just decided it was time. And I had tracked once before and lost 30 pounds in 2023. And that was my kind of first encounter with tracking. And I believe I talked about that in my video. It was like one of my first YouTube videos. So this time around was a little bit different. So primarily what I did when I first started doing this is I calculated like an approximate deficit. Like I was not 100% certain of what my maintenance calories were. However, I estimated it to be between like 2,600 and 2,800 based off of what I was eating and like what I was maintaining at and then what I was gaining weight at. However, I just to like be conservative, I just estimated it as 2,500 and then put myself in a 500 calorie deficit. So immediately saw some results and then nothing. And I was kind of wondering what was going on. So in December of 2024, right when I started it, I essentially, and I'm using Tatcha products, if you give a shit. I don't know. I wouldn't really recommend them. I bought them when I made money and now I kind of regret it, but it is what it is. And she's gone with the wind. So in December, right when I kind of had realized that I wanted to begin a deficit, I had some pretty like life-changing stuff happening. So I went and I saw an OBGYN. I got put on medication to treat my PMDD and endometriosis, and that put me into a medical menopause. So this is where it's important if you're like, this is where it is calories in and calories out. It's energy balance, right? So like I assumed that a 500 calorie deficit would essentially give me 3,500 calories a week. Wait, 5 times 7 is 35. Yeah, so that's a pound of fat a week. That's what I assumed I'd be losing based off of calculations, based off of knowledge that I've incurred over time. And I thought that that would be sufficient. There was, I think, 3 months between February and April where, in fact, not just nothing was happening, but my weight was actually increasing despite the fact that I was in my deficit. And I realized that my energy balance was completely thrown off because of two things. One, I was experiencing medical menopause, which changed my energy output. So that means that I had to consume less to kind of get this, like to achieve the goal. And then I also was being put on a bunch of different like antipsychotics. I was trying different things. I was just trying to feel better and nothing was working. And I realized that when nothing is working and the weight is not moving and in fact it's increasing, it means that you're not really in a deficit. There is an issue. So I kind of investigated, changed some things. The antipsychotics weren't working, got off of them, and then realized that my maintenance had changed because I was technically menopausal. So I started putting myself in a more severe deficit. Now things really changed. April of 2025 till June of 2025, I went through some fun stuff. I went through a bunch of like a huge life changes, some of which were quite traumatic. And I've never talked about it and I probably won't. And it resulted in me being in the worst flare-up of my life, like pain-wise. It was so bad I had to move. It was so bad I actually had to move back in with my mom for the first time since I was like 15 or 16. I lived with her for 3 months until I moved into my new place, which is where I am currently, because I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't even bend down to plug something in. I could barely lift 2 pounds. It was crazy. And the only thing I could control during that time was my deficit. And because, sorry, my knees are in like excruciating pain right now. And because of the fact that I was barely able to go to the gym, because I could barely move, barely walk, my energy expenditure was significantly shortened. I was barely having any steps per day. Not that I normally do because I spend most of my time in bed. However, it did really impact things for me. So I had to go in a very severe deficit. And then once I got kind of moved in here, I spent a month kind of just like celebrating, eating, kind of doing whatever. My weight kind of stayed the same. And I had like essentially a goal in mind. But it's so funny. People always say that when you want to lose weight, you are much... I need to figure out a way to say this so it's not... Well, no, it's not... The word fat is not a bad word. But it's interesting. Like when you lose weight, like you have much more... A bodybuilder in my gym told me recently, we were kind of discussing, because I was saying how interesting it was, how I essentially thought that I, wanted to lose 30 pounds, then 30 turned to 35, 35 turned to 40, then 45 turned to 50. And it was just interesting. Oh, by the way, this is sunscreen, glow screen sunscreen. I get this at Sephora. I had a bottle. It has lasted me I think a year and a half, or not a year, over a year. And it's tinted. They have 4 shades. I'm not sure that it works. I'm not sure if it would work super well on a significantly darker skin, but they do have darker shades. However, their darkest shade is probably not super dark, as is almost no makeup and skincare brands. Anyway, and this is, in case anyone gives a the shade, I don't even know, because I literally can't see. Sunset, sunrise, who knows? Probably sunrise. I don't even know what I was talking about. It was something, I swear. Oh, the guy at the gym, we were talking about my process of, losing weight. And he said, you're always going to be so much more fat and so much more small than you think. Meaning like you have so much more fat to lose and you have so much less muscle than you think. And I just thought it was interesting because it's so true. And I had a feeling that I would basically be in a deficit until September, October, and then I would reach my goal. But my goal shifted, and I realized that if I wanted to prepare properly for Christmas, and by preparing properly, I meant not screwing up all the progress that I had made, it was really important that I reversed properly, and I would just kind of finish my remaining goal from January till March of this year. So I think around October 7th, that was when I had hit kind of a 30-pound weight loss, and I wanted to reverse. So I started doing that. If you're unfamiliar with what reverse dieting is, it's essentially over an extended period of time slowly increasing the calories to prevent very rapid weight gain. And for me, I was talking to somebody online about this, a gym bro who, I'm not even going to get into that, but anyway, he was basically saying that reversing is a myth. I was like, okay, well, congratulations to you. Unfortunately for me, I have a history of, since 13, I am now 32, of disordered. So, there's that. This is Mauve Sachu lip stain. Ari Kitsia uses this. Love her. Love this. So I wanted to reverse, and I had my first, the day after I started reversing, I had my first outing at a spa with a friend. It went super well. I didn't really overeat, mainly because I'm celiac, so they pretty much had nothing there for me to eat. But from then until literally mid-January, end of January, I was in a flare-up. I was sick. I was in pain. It was horrible. It was hard. But during, I guess, November of 2025, December, I was trying different SNRIs, which is a serotonin norepinephrine something intake inhibitor. Google it. I don't know. But essentially I was trying different medications for pain management, because I have to be very careful with what I take because of the fact that I'm in recovery, so I kind of have rules for myself. And we're going to put this on, and then I'm going to talk more unfortunately for you. It's harder to do. I don't want to. Will I? You think I will? Oh God. I don't know how to get up. Okay. This is a gradation. It's I'm literally painting eyelids. Is that fine? I think it's okay. Whatever. That's good enough for now. I'm not even going to do the water on today because I'm talking and I don't want to screw everything up. I'm going to use a fan. One sec. Oh gosh, it's so hot. So during that time of trying different SNRIs, I had negative side effects. The first one that I took it I think for 2 months, and it did a really good job of erasing my pain. However, I had no appetite. And this was when I was reversing and I wanted to reverse properly. So I was increasing my calories, but I didn't feel like eating at all. And it was horrible. So essentially I was eating like one meal a day and I had to force feed myself. So I was like force feeding myself like chicken nuggets, chicken wings, and donuts so that I wouldn't up my reverse so that I could enjoy Christmas. Did I end up enjoying Christmas? Not so much. But anyway, the reverse was successful. I got to maintenance. I was eating whatever. Then, January rolled around and I started like finishing everything up for the next 3 months. And it was really hard. Like the thing is sometimes you don't realize when you've lost a significant amount of weight that you have to kind of change your calculations because energy output changes as you go on. So like what I mean by that is at the beginning of this, for example, like I estimated my maintenance, and this is Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. You can't even freaking see it. But I estimated my maintenance to be, at 2,800. But then when you lose a bunch of weight, your energy output changes because the amount you move around changes, especially when you're in a deficit. And then the calories that you burn through digesting food changes because you're consuming less calories. And then because you're consuming less, you're moving around less, so you're burning less. And then when your weight changes and when you lose more muscle. So basically, like, there were parts where I just was assuming that if I went with the same deficit, that I would see the same results. And that's kind of where I was wrong. That was something that I, definitely was an issue that next time around I really need to take into account, constantly kind of remeasuring and readjusting, if you will. Now, the first reverse back in October went like really well. I was able to just like slowly increase 75 calories every week, essentially for like 7 weeks. And I just wanted to do it slowly because I really didn't want to screw it up. The last time I lost a bunch of weight before that, I binged really hard and pretty much got rid of all my progress within a 10-day time span. So it wasn't great. So I was super cognizant of that. And then, of course, when Christmas rolled around, I was already back at my maintenance calories. So I was able to like enjoy Christmas, but I was also still kind of trying out different meds for pain. Nothing was really working. And they were like making me super nauseous. So I wasn't interested in eating. So I got off all of those. Then my deficit for the last like 3 months has been super low. I just finished it. And I started reversing the day before my birthday. The problem is it goes my birthday and then there's April Fool's. And then the next day is my, sober anniversary. So I want to do things on those days and celebrate because it's like a freaking big deal. So I went for like a pizza dinner with my mom and she made me a cake. I don't know why I'm doing this in this order. I think my brain is trying to work really hard and things aren't working because I never put concealer on right now. This is never the order that I do things in. I'm trying hard. It's not working. I'm trying, but my brain is not functioning at full capacity. That's also okay. So we went to dinner and I went insane. I was like, well, I'm paying for this anyway, so. And before you say anything bad, I offered to pay for my birthday dinner because my mom is not employed. She is retired. She has spent her entire life helping me and supporting me. And I am financially, at the present moment, in a place where I can afford a nice dinner for us. It was like, I don't know, $150. We got some appetizers. And the way that I was eating, it was like, I think the way that they talk about in Sapiens, how like binging is to a certain degree ingrained in us because as like people like millions of years ago or however long ago it was, I have no idea, we'd be like, going without food for however long and then we'd find a frickin' berry bush and then like binge because we're like, well, when are we gonna even have food next? And that's kind of what it felt like. But I've been dealing with an ED since I was 13. And I assumed that because it wasn't showing up in the same way that it was when I was a child, that as an adult, like, it was healed for me, and that's not the case. That's kind of how it went with OCD as well, where I thought that because it was manifesting, like, it wasn't manifesting in the same way that I was healed. No. And I found this out actually through the first time that I actually started really tracking when, you know, kind of, like, you know, obviously never competitive bodybuilding, but I wanted to track for bodybuilding purposes back in 2023, and I really had no idea how much I was actually consuming. And I didn't realize that I was binging. Like, I didn't know. I thought that because I had gained weight and because I was eating and eating a lot, that I was healed from my disordered tendencies, and because it was showing up differently. Like, when I was a kid, I would just, I'm not going to go into the details because I don't want people to get ideas, but saying that I restricted was an understatement. So if you want more if you want more of a kind of detailed history on that, that video does exist. It's like one of the first videos I posted. I'll just leave that there. But yeah, I realized that it wasn't normal. I didn't know. I thought that because I was eating food that everything was normal, and it wasn't. And I think it's very different person to person, right? I think for me, tracking really, really helped me and really kind of saved me. But for a lot of people who deal with the same things that I deal with, it's completely the opposite. They cannot track. They have to eat intuitively. So it just depends. But for me, I think tracking really helped. The problem is I have a very like all or nothing kind of mindset. And we went out for dinner, and essentially I had this mindset of like, well, you know, I'm restricted still because I'm still in my deficit, and because I'm reversing, like I can't increase calories. So like, this is my last chance. This is my last chance to eat. So basically we went, got a bunch of food, came home, had a birthday cake. The birthday cake, love you mom, I know you're watching this, was not super good. The icing was amazing. So I was like eating as much as I could, like just force feeding. And then I had like half the pizza left over. So I was like eating so much. It was essentially like when you're in addiction and then you get sober and then you go out thinking that you could do the same amount of as before, and then you end up, because you consume way too much. It was the same thing. Like, I have not been this tiny since, like, I don't know, over a decade ago. Like, my stomach is, you know, so I was like eating the same amount thinking it'd be fine. I was like, whatever, I'll get sick. It's fine. Like my stomach will hurt, but it's going to be okay. Like, I just won't be able to do this again. And I was so sick. Like, oh my God, I felt like I had to, but I couldn't, because I have I feel like a phobia around that, because I spent like a good 3 straight years, well, 1 year and then another, 1 year and then another 2 years consecutively of my life from stress and chronic illness. Thank you, ex-boyfriends. Anyway, so I was super sick. And then the scale literally went up 10 pounds. Now, I am aware of how things work. I do know that if you consume more carbs and more, like if you consume, for every, I think it's like for, carbs get stored in the body as glycogen, okay? And for every like gram or milliliter of glycogen stored, there's 3 to 4 milliliters of water. So if you consume extra sodium, if you consume extra carbohydrates, the scale is gonna jump up. Like, you need to eat, I believe it's 3,500 calories over maintenance to gain a pound of fat. However, despite the fact that knowing how this works, and I have like these disordered tendencies, it scared me. I did understand what was going on, but it still scared me. It's still upsetting, whatever. So I knew what was going on, and then the next day I felt super sick, whatever. And the day after, it was my 13 years sober. However, some weird things happened, because the night before my birthday, someone showed up on my doorstep and was like hanging out on my porch like a man, and it freaked me out. And then the night before my 13 years sober, I heard a phone ring. Yeah, I heard a phone ring, and it wasn't my phone. I was on my phone, and it was like a Samsung ring, and it sounded like it was like upstairs or downstairs, and it sounded like someone had silenced it. So I called the cops, was super stressed out. That was the night before my 13 years sober. A great celebration. So I'm like at the gym the day of my 13 years. I'm not feeling super great. And then I was like, you know, this is like, I've worked really hard and I have no plans to celebrate. What the fuck? So of course, I go pick up a pizza and I binge again. And while I have the pizza, they gave me the wrong pizza, so they gave me 2 pizzas. And then while I'm waiting for the pizza to heat up, I'm eating, like, it's so hard to deal with these disordered tendencies. And people really don't get how hard it is because, listen, I'm somebody who's an addict through and through. However, like, I'm not sitting here saying necessarily, because I would really have to think about it. I don't necessarily think that like an ED is harder than addiction, but they're also in the same realm. And that here is the big difference in my brain. Like, the first thing that I think of, and listen, you can tell me that I'm wrong. This is just me talking about my experiences on my page. Don't get all mad. Well, you can get mad. If I am ill-informed, please let me know. I have no issue learning. I'm just saying that these are my experiences. It's not a universal experience. But the thing is with addiction, right? You can remove those substances from your house. Like, you don't require them necessarily to live, but you require food to live. You have to have food. You have to have food in your house. So it's just really hard. And it's something that if I'm being completely honest, I've had a difficult time managing in the past week. I think I binged 3 or 4 times, and it was just so upsetting because I have this like all or nothing mindset where, okay, well, the scale already went up 10 pounds and it took me 16, 17 months to lose that. Well, I might as well myself over some more. Who cares? I've already like dug this hole. I'll just keep going. And it's like, that's not helpful, obviously. I started seeing a new therapist, and we kind of talked about that and talked about kind of ways of coping, because even I think the second night that I binged, there were already moments where I was trying to stop myself. But if you've dealt with this, like, you know how hard it is. It's kind of like, I just wish, I don't know. I feel like this video sucks, but I feel like that of every video. And that's because they pretty much do suck. And that's also okay. Not the hands. Yeah, it's just really hard. And I have been trying to kind of train myself and learn how to be more present, because I feel like that would really help. Like, I recently realized that every moment of my life, like literally, okay, get off my hand, you little gross. Come on, what the heck? I spend every moment of my life in fear. Fear that I'm going to lose everything. Sorry. And it does make sense that I feel these things based off of my past, based off the way that my body works. It does make sense. Like, there's nothing wrong with me feeling this way, but I'm trying to find ways to be more present, to take myself out of that. And that was kind of one of the things that I was working on in regards to trying to figure out how to be more present, come back into the moment. I'm having a difficult time. It's not been easy. It's just so hard because, like, I've worked so hard, to lose all this. And it's also challenging because I feel like I've got these very kind of conflicting views where, like, I've been trying to dismantle my internalized fat phobia, yet here I am, weighing my food. It's confusing. And I feel like I also share content about fat phobia, and then here I am being like, I've lost weight. I'm not, and I've also got confusing feelings too, because when you lose 50 pounds, your clothes don't fit the same. They don't. And the reality of it is I go to the gym. The things that I wear pretty much all the time are pajamas or gym clothes. That's kind of what I wear. I just need to be comfortable, Miss Girl. I'm chronically ill and disabled. And it's crazy how clothes are made for people in smaller bodies. They just are. It's crazy how things fit differently. And I know that people say, I'm sorry, I'm in so much pain right now. I know that people say that clothes aren't supposed to fit you. You're supposed to fit into clothes, something like that. And, if something doesn't fit, then, you size up, you size down, whatever. But it's just so frustrating how things are made. And there's also a combination of that and all this weird alt-right conservative, like, people right now are so tiny. And I do know, like, especially because I've existed in this body as being objectively quite overweight and being objectively extremely, like, medically unhealthily small, people do treat you very differently in a small body versus a large body. And it's so interesting because you get these people, mostly like straight white people like me, coming on here that are like very small, that have existed in small bodies their entire life. They talk about how hard it is. This is why it's really important to take the time to educate yourself on experiences different than yours, because getting told to like eat a hamburger and you're I can't even say the word on here, like, just like basically have people saying slurs because you're so tiny is so much, because that's what I grew up with, is so much different and so much easier than existing in a fat body. Like, I could talk about this for hours because it chills me to my bone. It's funny because years ago when I was at my largest, when I was in a relationship, abusive, with my last boyfriend, his niece was very small, has existed in a small body, I believe, throughout her whole life. And she was talking about how hard it is to be thin. And I was like, girl, friend, niece of mine, kind of whatever. Because she was, I think, like 18 or 19 at the time. She was talking about how hard it was to exist as a small person in a small body. And I was like, I understand why you feel that way. However, that's just factually incorrect. And here's why. And she'd be like, well, you don't understand. And I was like, friend, I was like 6'1" and 115 pounds. So in fact, I do understand. And it's just so much more challenging to exist in a harder, like in a larger body, especially in today's society. So it's hard, like the concept of me putting weight back on, that, and like I've gotten, and my mom is learning too. She's doing the best she can. But like close to the end of it, she made so many comments saying like, oh my God, you look so good. You've never looked better. Mom, I know you're watching this. I love you absolutely to death. I'm just telling people things that are things that you said, which is fine. And I did point out to her, I was like, well, I look great now, but I also looked really good back then, and that's okay. Like, she was like, well, what are you gonna do when you gain the weight back? Because you're a bodybuilder, like, you're gonna gain the weight back. And I was like, that's why you shouldn't make comments like that. Like, it's always hard because sometimes you want to compliment people. Like, this is something that I struggle with because I'm in the gym space and I recognize like that people are working really hard on their physiques, but you never know what someone is going on. So I try really hard not to comment on other people's bodies, but I also want to praise them for their hard work. Oftentimes, like if people tell me that they've lost, a significant amount of weight or gained a significant amount of weight, I'll be like, okay, like, was this intentional? Are we happy about it? Was it done in like a healthy way? Like, but it's hard. It's hard because I feel like I've gotten so many people, especially online, praising me for how I look currently. And I feel like clothes finally fit the way that they're supposed to, even though that's not true. It's just confusing. And, now it's been like almost 2 weeks where I've kind of screwed myself over because I binge ate, and I don't know. I just wanted to make a video like talking about the reality of it is. Because like what the reality of like a major weight loss is like, because the problem is like people get into this, right? And they don't have like a baseline understanding of fitness and nutrition. And even if you do, there are so many external factors that change things as time goes on. But, people get into this, they have a goal weight in mind. They lose weight. They realize that they have much more weight to lose. And they get to the end, they hit their goal. Maybe they're happy, maybe they're not. I feel like most of the time we're not happy because we're just never happy. And then they have no plan. They think, okay, well, I'm done. The weight is gone. I've lost it now. And then they kind of just return to previous tendencies. And your hunger cues, especially when you've been in a deficit for a long time, like they're messed the up. Yeah, I'm using my saliva. What about it? Anyway. So that's why, like, I think it's, if you hear bodybuilders talk frequently about how you know, the prep wasn't hard. It's the reverse. Obviously, that was not a prep. I did lose a significant amount of weight, but I did it for a long period of time. Something that I do think that for the next time I want to take into account is there were a lot of times where the weight wasn't moving because I wasn't really being honest with myself about all that I was consuming, which is fine. But I wasn't seeing results because it's like, okay, well, I was also getting a coffee and then I was also going out for dinner, and like all of these things are fine. It just took everything so much longer. And what I realized they're doing it is like, I'm capable, unfortunately, of surviving on very low calories. And I would rather in the future suffer for a shorter amount of time than like, you know, take breaks and stuff for an extended period of time, because it took me a long time. Somebody commented on my video the other day and was like, oh my God, is that, like, are you on Ratatouille? And I was like, if it took me 16, 17 months to lose 50 pounds, there's like enhanced, there's something I'm doing wrong. It's funny. Anyway, I feel out of breath. I feel like I'm gonna faint. I gotta put on this freaking mascara, I guess. Do I need to? Anyway, I just wanted to talk about it because like kind of like a mutual influencer friend of mine was like, wow, I don't know how you did that because I thought that you know, were in recovery. And I was like, you know, it's never really gone. I feel like with that kind of like disordered stuff, I don't know if it's ever really gone. I'm not particularly sure. I've been working on it actively since I was really young. And it's funny how it creeps back in. Like sometimes you think that it's gone and you don't have like symptoms of it for a long time, and then all of a sudden it's so full force again. I haven't binged, I think, for like 4 days, which is huge, but I should technically have lost weight on this reverse, and I haven't. But that's also okay. I feel like every time you kind of reverse and bulk and go through a journey of like losing weight, gaining fat, putting on muscle, like it's all a different learning experience. But I just wanted to be kind of honest and transparent about the process and talk about kind of the effects that it was having, because they have been really challenging. It's been really, really hard. And I don't know, you can't really talk about that on a lot of platforms. And I just felt like it was something important to talk about. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. All I know is my skin has been, I feel like I look like a clown. No, let's just take a second. Let's pause and circle back. You're in the middle of creating a YouTube video right now. You don't look like a clown. You've got nice makeup. You can also kind of buff it out if you feel like it's too harsh. There's nothing wrong. You're a little overwhelmed and you've had kind of some overwhelming things take place, and it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. You're okay. You're okay. But I do kind of want to edit here because if I'm being honest, oh my God, my knees hurt so much. Today is supposed to be like a content day for me. I've gotten really good at that in the past. Like, I feel like I'm going to talk about that on a separate video, but I feel like my process kind of has improved a lot recently. And yeah, today's supposed to be like a content day, but oh my gosh, like I'm really in a lot of pain. I'm supposed to go to the gym. I haven't been since Friday, Thursday. It's Monday, and I might not go today. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do, but I do have to take some videos and I'm in a lot of pain. So I think probably the best solution, you should see my stance right now. It's very much hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos. I don't know. Yeah, if you know about hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos, you understand why this is the stance. But yeah, I'm in a pretty significant amount of pain. So I think maybe it's time to end the video. I do still have some other stuff that I need to get done and record. I don't really want to do it if I'm being real, but I think maybe it's probably best for me to do it while sitting down, considering the amount of pain that I'm in. Anyway, feel free to ask me any questions. I'm not as responsive on here as I should be, but I need to get better at it. But yeah, this was just me, I don't know, talking about my experience of I don't know, like 16, 17 months of losing 50 pounds and then gaining 10 pounds overnight. And the scale is not 10 pounds now. It's, you know, it's up like 3 or 4 pounds. But that's okay. We're just learning things. We're trying things. We're doing the best that we can. And the best we can is, I was about to say it's never enough because I say that all the time, but it is enough. I am enough. We are enough. You are enough. And that's it. We're going to end this video. Thank you so much for watching. What the heck? This was, I feel like, a feature-length film. But yeah, if you watched, I don't know why, but thank you so much. If you want, you could like, share, comment, subscribe if you wanted to. If you don't, I don't know why you watched it all the way through. Strange behavior. But you could send it to somebody that you hate in order to spite them. And that's it. YouTube done. Snap, snap. Oh, I can do it. Even though the ring is there. You see this? This is an injury from freaking grating cheese after I ordered pizza with double cheese and there was no cheese on it. This was the day of my 13 years sober. And now there's a huge hole in my hand from a grated cheese injury. Anyway, yeah. YouTube done. Yeah, brother. Okay, bye. Love you.